reporting for Katie Chats here at the Spoke Club in downtown Toronto with Andy Fairgrieve, the coordinator and curator of the Glenfiddich Artist in Residence Prize. How does it feel to be here getting Daniel BARROW the award?
It's fantastic. It's really nice to be back in Toronto. It's pretty much a year to the day since I was here. So I've met Daniel today for the first time in the flesh, and yeah, we've been having a nice few chat about things. And I think he's going to be a very interesting participant in this year's prize.
And what initially inspired you to start this prize back in 2002?
Well, I can't take credit for starting the programme, although I have been involved in it since it began. And the story is our chairman at the time, who's now our life president, Mr. Charles Gordon, because we're a family company, a family-owned company. He'd been visiting some business premises around the world, and he noticed that quite a number of them had nice collections of art. And he felt that it would be a good, beneficial thing for William Grant and Sons, the company that owns Glenfiddich, to start its own collection. So he spoke to his nephew, Peter Gordon, and it was Peter who kind of came up with the idea of a residency programme. Peter could have gone out and he could have bought works at auction, or we could have commissioned artists and so forth. But I think the idea of having a residency where you ask the artists to come to the distillery and really immerse themselves in the daily life up in Dufftown, they then produce works that relate back to that experience. And so the collection that we now have, which numbers over well over 100 pieces, every piece has got its own story and makes it personal to the distillery. And I think that's one of the nicest aspects about the programme.
What's a typical day like during the residence?
Well, for me, it starts at 8 o'clock. I sort of try to keep normal working hours. But, we've got 8 artists from around the world, so they're coming from different time zones. So some of them are semi-nocturnal. So my day can actually start at 8 o'clock, but I don't see any artists till maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which can be a bit frustrating. But every day is different, and it depends on the media that the artist is working in. Perhaps if they're a painter or a drawer. And for example, we had a young drawer from Chicago last year called Daniel Zalkis, and he could be seen all over the distillery practicing his art of what's called reporter's illustration. So he's basically just drawing what he sees. It's a kind of a sketch type of drawing. So he was very low maintenance. He got his drawing board, and we introduced him to the various aspects of the site. The distillery it's a large piece of ground. It's about 2 miles long, and there's a lot of different things happening there. We are quite unique at Glenfiddich that we not only distill, but we mature and also bottle our spirit on site. So there's a lot of activities. So I take the artists around, introduce them to the certain areas and let them know, there may be some health and safety things that they need to be aware of, but then they're pretty much free to go about and doing their own thing. Now last year, of course, we had a Canadian artist called Gillian MacDonald, who was a filmmaker, and that's a little bit more involved. We travelled all around the distillery, around the grounds of the distillery, within a 5 to 10 mile radius of the distillery, and then even as far as places like Loch Ness. So that can take, there's no such thing as a typical day, but every day is interesting.
What makes this area of Scotland so special and unique?
Well, certainly the people are very, very friendly. There's 7 working distilleries in Dufftown, so you've got this lovely whisky aroma, the smell of the maturing spirit in the air most of the time. And I think it is a microcosm, obviously, of the Scotch whisky being produced there. You've got, there's a shortbed factory in one of the towns close by. We've got wheeling mills producing tartans and so forth. You've got the River Spey with its salmon. So all these very iconic, stereotypical things of Scotland can be found in that area.
How much whiskey do you consume on an average day?
Not that much, to be quite honest. And certainly with Glenfiddich, we've got a fantastic range of whiskies, and it's sometimes nice just to sort of immerse yourself in them. And I don't mean overindulge. I just almost treat it like a fine wine and enjoy the aroma, the different flavours of the palate, the depths of flavour that are in there. And with whiskey, as with a lot of the best things in life, sometimes less is more.
And what made Daniel BARROW such a great recipient for this prize?
Well, he's very highly respected. It was a very difficult job this year. We had about 150 Canadian artists applied to the prize award, and that was shortened down to a list of 8. And obviously those 8 were considered to be the best out of the 150. So they'd all written their proposals, and each one stood on its own merits. And I think where Daniel stood out was there was something particularly interesting about Daniel. Not as he only got a Scottish heritage, but he's a storyteller. And I think that's an interesting thing, when people can start getting stories out of artwork. And also, in this day and age, most artists are rushing headlong into new technologies and new media and digital. And Daniel's analogue. He's using old technologies of overhead projectors. And there's a nice ambiguity about his work, because you can't classify him as a performance artist or simply a filmmaker or an animator, because he's incorporating all these elements in. So I quite like to think of him as a storyteller, and I think that people are going to be interested in what he does at Glenfiddich.
And where's the best place to find out more information on the Residence Prize online?
Well, that would be on our Glenfiddich website, so it's www.glenfiddich.com.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, and have a great time at the Residence again this year.
Thank you, Katie. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. I'm Katie Allman reporting for Katie Chats here at the Spoke Club in downtown Toronto.